All right, everybody, welcome back into Cherry Pickin. Today's video, we got a week away from the NHL season start date, October 10th. A lot of people are going to be doing their drafts this week, so we're going to be starting off the week with a mock draft, just entering a standard Yahoo head-to-head stats categories league. So the stats we're going to be looking at, I'm drafting in the third position. We're going to be looking at goals, assists, plus minus, power play points, shots on goal, hits. A lot of the leagues I generally play in will have blocks, but for this one, obviously this won't be included, but I'll still be mentioning things about that. Obviously, things about players to take in bangers leagues as well. And then for goalies, the stats we're looking at: wins, goals against average, save percentage, shutouts. A lot of Yahoo leagues as well will include saves in that one as well. So I'll be drafting with that kind of in mind too. So just keep in mind when you see those draft picks coming through, drafting amongst obviously a bunch of random people. So we'll see kind of how these people are drafting. I'm sure a lot of them will be on auto draft. Tends to what happens when you're doing these kind of mock drafts. But and throughout this week, I'll be doing, this is like full 12 team mock draft, but then later on in the week I'll be doing best strategies for rounds 1 to 6, 6 to 12, 12 to 18, especially some of those leagues that are in a little bit deeper leagues and who you want to be taking a lot later on in those drafts, depending on if you're in 16, 18 team leagues, a little bit different than fantasy football. Obviously, you're generally in 12 to 14 team leagues. Fantasy hockey can definitely vary a little bit more. It's definitely a little bit more volume in that sense. So draft is getting going here soon. 2 minutes till we start. So I have the third pick. My third pick, if I'm not getting McDavid, even if I'm at 2 or 3, I'd love to get Austin Matthews. I know he's obviously a little bit further down on this rank, but you're looking at a guy who I'm pretty sure led the NHL last year in goals in 5-on-5, or was top of them, even with his injuries out there. So if you're looking at a guy who was really efficient in 5-on-5 hockey last year, add that power play to it this year, which has always been pretty solid for the Leafs since they've had this core group of theirs. Definitely a guy I'm going to be looking at. Other than that, obviously Draisaitl's a good pick. Pasternak, definitely due for some regression this year. After his 60-goal season last year, you lose Bergeron, you lose Krejci. Definitely some things to worry about there. Matt Tkachuk, always, him and his brother, I'm kind of ranking very similar at this point, just because they're both very, obviously, ton of hits, score a lot of points over the last 2 seasons. Brady Tkachuk last year, one of the top players in expected goals for with a ton of shots. So I feel like this year is really going to break through in the goal category, because I think last year only finished with 35 or 40 goals. Yeah, 35 goals last season. So I feel like you can definitely get up to 40 this year, at least, considering how this Ottawa team is structured. Their top 6 players, or top 6 forwards, are unbelievable. You have Stützle, Tkachuk, Tarasenko, Josh Norris, Drake Batherson, just top 6 really solid across the board there. And then a couple of guys like Kucherov would be good. I feel like Tampa might have a little bit of a down year this season, but again, you rely heavily on that top line of 3 players really, of Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, and Steven Stamkos. Some contract negotiations going the wrong way for Tampa right now, for sure, or Steven Stamkos, I'd say. So a little bit of turmoil there, I'm sure. So I'll probably be staying away from Stamkos. And then Tage Thompson, obviously ranked pretty high after his unbelievable year last year. Just under 50 goals, 47 goals, 47 assists, so pretty even there. But yeah, definitely looking for guys in the top, your first pick, that are going to be goal scorers, because goal scorers are the hardest thing to find when you're looking at NHL. So, all right, so this guy's would be stupid to not take Connor McDavid. Obviously first overall. If you're not taking him first, got to figure it out at this point, because also he's far and above obviously the best player in the NHL. And it's going to be a point where people might have to eliminate him from leagues, because it's just almost like a cheat code. So yeah, I'm going to take Austin Matthews third overall, get a center here early. Then it can kind of focus on wingers, maybe D-men. I will say, drafting at this third spot, if Sorokin falls to me, I have no problem taking the first goalie off the board here. That's what happened in some of my other mock drafts. But interested to see how the rest of this top 10 kind of gets figured out here, considering there's so many elite players and so many different ways you can kind of think of it. Jason Robertson's a guy I'm kind of staying away from this year as well. This Stars first line, I feel like they had a little bit too much success on the power play last year. I wonder how that will translate into this season, if they can keep up that pace, because I think they had 4th or 3rd in power play percentage last season, with really high shooting percentages. So I'd kind of tend to stay a little bit further away from that. Heiskin would be a guy I'm still targeting for sure. If you watch my must draft defenseman, he's a guy that I've been looking at, a guy I'll probably be drafting a little bit earlier than maybe some people will expect. Makar's an interesting option too right now, because I know he re-aggravated his lower body injury in camp, and if he's going to be playing fully healthy throughout the first month or 2 is something to kind of think about. Looking at his point total, you might think it's a little wild, but I'm actually looking at maybe taking it under at that spot. Just because if he does miss some time, obviously, it's going to be, that's a kind of good thing to bank on when you're playing season-long unders, especially just on a sports book. So the first first 4 picks, or the 4 picks after my pick, McKinnon, Pasternak, Kucherov, Rantanen, and then Matt Tkachuk. I'm like 9 or 10. I'm definitely taking a look at Brady Tkachuk over Tage Thompson and Jason Robertson, especially in bangers leagues. If you're looking at like hits and blocks, obviously this guy does it all. And if he's going to be able to put up 90 to 100 points this year, it's pretty much like a top 6 fantasy hockey player. So definitely someone you should keep on your radar and maybe considering drafting a little bit early. It looks like here he won't even go in the first round, which would be kind of crazy. Watch, I probably just jinxed it, but yeah, there he goes. Brady Tkachuk, 11th overall. So seeing how this Crosby too, I'm really high on this Pittsburgh team in terms of offense this year. Like looking at their power play, I think their power play is going to be phenomenal. And you've adding Erik Karlsson to that. Norris Winter scored over 100 points last year. Alongside Chris Letang, Malkin, Crosby, and then Gensel when he comes back. But for now, I think it should be Rickard Rakell. Obviously, very good options here. So I kind of need a winger at this point too. Do I go with Nylander at this spot? Would be kind of interesting. Not really a stack considering Matthews and Nylander don't play together very often. But I'd probably be looking at someone like, there goes Ilya Sorokin. So I probably won't take Igor in this spot. I don't think I'll take Ottinger either. I might be looking a little bit further down here for a winger. But definitely not loving this 3-hole position as of right now with who's kind of left on the board. Going 2 centers first and early is kind of crazy, but maybe I go Adam Fox and shore up some defensemen as well, because Adam Fox, the last 2 seasons, generally a 70-point scorer. And I'm not loving the rest of the people that are here, and I feel like it'd be silly to take 2 centers, but we'll see here. Looking at the wingers that are kind of left are still here. Yeah, I can get these guys kind of later on. So actually, I'm going to go Crosby. I'm going to go Crosby, and then I'm going to go Adam Fox, hopefully, if I can snag him afterwards as well. Because obviously, a ton of good centers going early. You still have Rupe Hintz. Elias Peterson just went. I know a lot of people aren't high on him this year. You got Braden Point. So like this guy just went Timo Meier. I think it's a good pick, but there's so many mouths to feed on that New Jersey Devils team. I know he's obviously going to be playing on an elite line this year with, I believe he'll probably be playing with Hischier. So I think that'll probably be good. There you go. Good guy took Yossi. I'd much rather have Adam Fox than Roman Yossi at this point. So I'm going to be taking Adam Fox there. So first 3 picks, Austin Matthews, Sidney Crosby, and Adam Fox. Definitely very happy with that. I know people tend to draft a lot of defensemen early because there's obviously less good ones or valuable ones later on as you get deeper in the drafts, but there's definitely a couple guys I have my eye on that I think you can kind of snag later. Connor Bedard being ranked 37th overall in fantasy hockey is just a little bit, it's a bit much for me right now. Chicago sucks, and he's obviously going to be able to score a lot of goals, be the driver of offense there, but his season-long point total is about 66, 65 on Sportsbook, so that's definitely something you should pay attention to. So I think his goals is about 30 as well. All these other guys that are going like Eichel, Rupe Hintz had 40 goals, I believe, last year too. Those guys definitely interest me a little bit more. Some of the goalies here too. Georgiev, I definitely take Georgiev over Connor Hellebuck at this point. Georgiev definitely will get those wins. I don't think Winnipeg's going to be very good. And I've already heard that there's a good chance that Connor Hellebuck probably gets traded at some point this year. If Winnipeg does start off as slowly or as shitty as a lot of people are kind of anticipating right now, because he's definitely a very, very valuable goalie on a good team. But when you're playing on Winnipeg, who's at this point really relying on a line of Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, and Nikola Ehlers to really get the scoring going. Obviously, there's some really solid defensemen, but don't have too many high hopes for this team. So there goes Georgiev, JT Miller, Dahlin. So defense starting to go a little bit early here. The guys I'm trying to target here, I love Hischier this season, but I only have 2 centers, so that would be a little silly. I'd definitely be looking at Matt Boldy at this point if I can snag him. Especially that, if you watch the draft strategy video, the left wing, right wing capability is just makes your life so much easier on a week or a day-to-day basis, filling in those spots and those needs. So hopefully Boldy falls to me here. Some other wingers I would consider, like Hyman's an interesting option for sure. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is such an interesting case for me, considering he had 56 power play points or 53 power play points last year, which is pretty much exactly half of his point total. Is that going to happen this year? You have Evan Bouchard, who, if you look at the playoffs last season, Bouchard actually had more power play points than Nugent-Hopkins did in the playoffs. He had 13 or 14 power play points. Nugent-Hopkins had just 9 assists. So maybe Bouchard starts to quarterback this a little bit more this season. Maybe Jay Woodcroft gives him a little bit more comfortability in that position there. And then Also, you know, there's Vander Kane played like half the season last year. Is he going to get some time on the first power play if Nuge isn't really performing early? Is Connor Brown going to get some time on that first power play playing alongside McDavid? You know, they played in the OHL together. I know Connor Brown kind of hasn't played a ton recently just because he's been hurt, and I think his last full season with Ottawa still had about 15, he had like 40 points, 15 goals, 40 points. So not too bad. There goes Kyle Connor. I think he'll have a pretty good year. A lot of people are sleeping on him this year. A lot of people were high on him last season. I was definitely one of those people. But yeah, I'm definitely looking at Matt Boldy and then maybe even taking another defenseman here because of these wingers. Fiala, I'm pretty high on Fiala as well. Skinner, not bad. I mean, getting Marchand too at this point wouldn't even be that bad. I don't know if I want to take Karlsson this high. Like looking at some of the defensemen that are here, I think I'd rather wait and just take like a best player available right now. Dougie Hamilton, a great option. Charlie McAvoy, Quinn Hughes still there. Evan Bouchard, a guy I'm targeting. Heiskanen as well. So, and the rankings, like I wouldn't get tied to these rankings too much at this point. Like Yahoo's rankings, like feel free to definitely scroll down and find the best player available for your team at the current time. There goes Connor Bedard. That's wild in the 4th round. So yeah, hoping Matt Boldy falls to me here and then I can kind of go from there. Dylan Larkin, also a good center to take at this spot, I would say, you know, playing alongside Alex DeBrincat and then also Lucas Raymond. I think that's just like a very good complementary line of a playmaker. Dylan Larkin, a guy who's like a 5-tool player, and then DeBrincat just a pure goal scorer. So there goes Marchand. This makes my decision pretty easy. I'm going to go with Matt Boldy here. Could definitely maybe start looking at a goalie. I don't know if I'd want to take Swayman this early. I do think Swayman is a good pick this year. I feel like he played, like Allmark looked pretty shaky in the playoffs last year. Now, did obviously win the Vezina last year, so they're in no, why would they bench him? They're obviously not going to bench him, but is it going to be a little bit more split than it was last year? Both of them played phenomenal in the times they were given, but I think I'm going to go Quinn Hughes here, get a few more defensemen, really shore up, because the wingers at this point, I could go DeBrincat, but is that a little bit high for DeBrincat is the one thing. Yeah, I'm going to go Quinn Hughes. Quinn Hughes had a lot of points last year, a lot of points, a lot of assists, 69 assists, only 7 goals. So maybe that'll change this season for Quinn Hughes, maybe get a little bit more opportunity on that power play as some shots from the point. I still think this Vancouver team is pretty solid in terms of what they have to offer offensively. That first line of Peterson, Kuzmenko, and Beauvillier played really well at the end of last year, and then you still have Besser and JT Miller on that second line, so I feel like they'll definitely be able to put up some goals. It's just, will Thatcher Demko be able to hold up the back end, and will these new defensemen be able to kind of really like lock in on really like limiting chances? Because that was the biggest thing. Obviously, Spencer Martin was a goalie for a majority of the time last year, and he was just god awful. Would definitely can't see that happening again this year as badly as it was last year. But we'll kind of see. But I should definitely kind of start looking at maybe some of these goalies to take. It's too bad I couldn't get Sorokin there, but after Sorokin, yeah, like I'd love to have Gustafsson. Saros is a good option. Freddie Anderson, I mean, it's a good option, but is he someone you want to take this early considering all the other, Antti Ranta, Pyotr Kochetkov is still a guy that's probably going to make his way into this lineup at some point. Ranta's a guy that they can definitely kind of drop off or cut just in terms of his age, and he obviously played pretty solid in the playoffs when he was given the opportunity, or last year as well, just in the regular season. But you kind of trying to think more of like the future. But yeah, so far I have Matthews. Matthews does a lot too. Blocks a decent amount of shots. He's pretty physical as well. He's actually I think isn't given enough credit in terms of like a two-way center, but I think he's actually pretty solid in the defensive zone as well. Crosby, kind of same thing. Boldy will definitely get you the goals on that Minnesota team, and then Fox and Hughes, both very similar defensemen in that sense too. So yeah, so some of the guys here, like Heischer's still here. I think Heischer's a slam dunk pick this year. If you look at his point totals from last year, 31 goals, 49 assists. He actually only assisted on 3 of Jack Hughes' goals last year too. So the point jump that he had was not because of Jack Hughes. They generally obviously played on different lines, both being centers, but even on the power play, he's very able to create his own offensive opportunities, whether it be high danger or not. He's been very solid in that, and he keeps getting better year after year, even after a lot of people kind of doubted him after those first couple seasons. But okay, perfect. So seems like I will be able to get. Oh no, there goes DeBrincat. God damn it. I might go goalie here and then pick up another winger. Oh shit, this is my pick right now. And I out-drafted Jeremy Swayman. Nice. Definitely would have taken Gustafsson. Did not realize it was my turn already. Don't do that. Be prepared. Be way more prepared than I am right now. That's not good. Reinhardt's an interesting option too. I really like what he did at the end of last season. He has that duality as well as a center and right wing. But Jesper Bratt too. I mean, he was a rock star last year. It's another 70 plus point player, someone whose game could be even more elevated this year if New Jersey continues to pour it on offensively like they did last year. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go Bratt if someone doesn't go here. McCann, I feel like McCann's due for 40 goals last year on a Seattle team that does not score a lot of goals. So I'm going to go Jesper Bratt here. I think that's a pretty solid pick. Forwards are looking pretty good. I have to say Matthews, Crosby, Boldy, and Bratt. I'm very happy with that. Defensemen as well, Adam Fox and Quinn Hughes. So we definitely need some right wingers, but we also need a couple more defensemen and a couple more goalies. Absolutely. So let's see who's a little bit further down the board here, kind of predicts our next pick. But things are going well. Things are going fast. Toffoli's interesting option too. Obviously last year, career high in points, career high in goals, I think too, with 33 goals, 35 assists. More shots than he's ever had, and they're projecting him with more shots this year. I just don't really see that happening on a team like I mentioned. A lot of mouths to feed. He'll be probably playing on a line with Jack Hughes, who already shoots the puck a lot. So where he can fit in there is kind of where I'm trying to figure that out. Especially Hughes and Brad already have that really good connection. So we'll see kind of where Alex Holtz finds himself in the lineup as well. Throughout preseason, he's been playing with Meyer and Heischer. I don't know exactly how well it's been going necessarily in terms of if this will translate to the regular season, but it very well can. So we'll see there. Kuzmenko, also another guy that I definitely wouldn't hate to have. Defense are starting to go now a little bit more, eh? Oh yeah, defense are really starting to go. Holy shit. Definitely starting to get a little thin at goalie and defense, so I might pull the trigger there on some guys because it seems like that's what a lot of these other drafters are doing. Do I want to go with Demko here? I feel like that's definitely a little risky. I'm going to go with Skinner just because I know that the Oilers are going to win a lot of games. Now, is Stuart Skinner the best goalie in the NHL? Absolutely not, but he's in a good situation, and that's important. That, and then what defensemen are kind of around right now? This is interesting. Dobson, Sergachev, or Dunn is kind of where my head is at right now. Dobson, I think, is a great pick. Dunn also, though, like 64 points last year. I think he could do that again this year. The shot total for Dobson is definitely something to look at. I'm gonna go with Vince Dunn. Nope. I'm going to go with Noah Dobson. And the guy goes right after me, Vince Dunn. So there you go. So now we're back. We have two goalies, Swayman and Skinner. The goalie should have been Gustafsson, but we'll take Swayman too. Oh, that's fine. Now we got to get some wingers. So obviously with Boldy and Bratt being left wing and right wing capabilities, not too worried about that. I can put them at right wing so I can draft some left wingers here. It gives me a little bit more flexibility, which is kind of nice. Some of the wingers are here. Jaron McCann's still there. Giroux still there. Marty Necas. Eriksson Ek's a good, if you need a center at this point, that's a good option as well. The goalies that are left, not great. Maybe I'll take like Akira Schmid later. Even Cam Talbot. I actually do like Cam Talbot this year. We saw last year Korpisalo when he got traded from Columbus. His numbers with Columbus obviously horrible. Gets moved to LA. His goals saved above expected got way higher. Limiting a lot more high danger chances. This is because of the structure of the LA Kings defense, and I think Todd McClellan's is a much better coach than what they had last year in Columbus too. They have a really solid defensive depth, with Brant Clark being like, I think he's 5th or 6th defenseman on this point. First round pick, top 10 pick, someone who was great in the World Juniors last year. So Cam Talbot's a great option later on in drafts, I think. Nichushkin just went. That's an interesting situation. That's a really interesting situation. I can't believe he's actually in camp right now, which is very surprising. Even that too, like I'm seeing Raquel down there. Like that would be a pretty good stack with Sid. Kind of eyeing Kuzmenko here. I think I'd like Kuzmenko here in my 10th pick, the 10th round. I think that's pretty good value. A lot of people are kind of like, oh, but his shooting percentage was so high last year. Like, there's no way he's going to have this many goals again. He barely played. Like, if you look at when even Bruce Boudreau was there, now Rick Tocchet as well, like, there were just games where he'd play like 10 minutes. So, like, super, like, out of character, I would say, in that sense. But, yeah, I think I'm going to go Kuzmenko here if no one else grabs him. See a defenseman. Still got some decent options here. D'Angelo's a good sleeper here. Shabbat, like going so late in drafts, which is crazy to me. Okay, so Kochetkov, Ekblad. Okay, so Andrei Kuzmenko, you are going to be on my team. So he goes to the bench, obviously, because right wingers, both of these guys have been slotted in my left winger position, which is kind of annoying, but we move. Cousins would be a good take later on. I think I can wait though on these wingers for right now. Like Riley Smith, Owen Tippett, like all good options too. Let's see, D. I'm gonna go Tony DeAngelo. I know Lindholm's up there, but I think on Carolina, like he's going to be quarterbacking probably that first power play like he did 2 years ago, and he had 60+ points and not as many games as you'd think as well. So I'm going to go with Tony DeAngelo here, kind of round out my top 4 defense. So now it's getting more wingers and some centers too, and then a goalie to kind of figure it off. But I think that last goalie will be Cam Talbot. I don't think anyone's going to be kind of eyeing him too seriously at this point. We'll see. Maybe there's some sharper people in this draft than I estimated. Looking at some like Malkin is still here. Like that's the biggest thing with centers. Like you see there's 7, I guess, if you include Claude Giroux, centers at the top of this list right now, just because there's so many of them, so many good centers that you can really wait and take centers later on. You could take wingers early on in that first round, like I was kind of looking at. I really wanted Matthews, and McDavid's probably the next best or the best option, obviously. So wingers in that first round, obviously Pasternak, Matt Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk as well has that ability to play on the winger and as a center. Looking at some of the wingers here too. Arvidsson, I wouldn't really take Arvidsson. Raquel's interesting. Perron, not so much. I feel like he, on that second line now, won't get as much opportunity this year. The guy's a journeyman. He's been in the NHL for so long now. Buchnevich is interesting just because St. Louis is very top-heavy in terms of the skill players that they have. I know I saw Kyrou go a lot earlier in drafts. He's probably going to have a pretty solid season, all things considered. Eriksson Ek's still there as a center, which is a good option, but we got to look for wingers. Okay, so I'm up again here. I think I'm gonna go Raquel. Looking at who else is here right now. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go with Owen Tippett. I'm gonna go with Owen Tippett. I think he's still, now that you have Couturier coming back and probably Cam Atkinson, this power play is gonna look a hell of a lot better. I think they'll still put him on the point because I think Torts has some trust in him from last year. He'll probably have just as many, if not more, shots this year. And then who else are we gonna look at here? Eriksson Ek still there. I think I'm going to take Eriksson Ek actually next because he's great for bangers leagues, and this guy's expected goals numbers were a lot higher than you'd probably think. Drives a lot of offense on a Minnesota team that really relies on it from that really heavily of Matt Boldy and Kirill Kaprizov. So I like Eriksson Ek here as well. I'm going to be taking him. So a lot faster here. 2 bench spots, and then it looks like I'm probably just going to have to draft a right winger there because don't really have any other options, but that's fine. So Beniers, a lot of people like him a lot this year. Like I'd probably rather have Beniers than like Jared McCann this year, although he's a center, so you can really wait to take him a lot later on in drafts, which is kind of nice. San Jose, man, I feel like nobody's talking about this team. Easily a candidate to finish the last in the NHL this year with what they've got going on over there. It's a dumpster fire as of right now, but I'm sure their rebuild is starting heavier than ever this season. Riley Smith, also a good option right now with Gensel out. Probably will play with Crosby at this point. He's, looking at his stats last year, obviously on a Vegas team. Stone was hurt for a bit. Eichel, in and out a little bit more. Smith had 26 goals and still 30 assists, so a pretty solid season. Will he be able to do the same with the Penguins? Yeah, if he solidifies himself as a candidate that can keep up and play with Sidney Crosby, absolutely. You've seen literally the best example ever of a career made by Sidney Crosby is Chris Kunitz. Like, not someone who really perennially has scored a lot of points, but playing alongside Sidney Crosby and with the Pittsburgh Penguins made a career for himself. And there goes Matthew Nyes as well. Also a great pick. He's looked really good in the preseason. A lot better, a lot more confident than he did last year, I would say, even in the playoffs too. I'm going to try to get another defenseman. Radko Gudas, just a Bangers League champ. 312 hits last year. That's awesome. Just on Anaheim, too, if we're playing with plus-minus, that's not going to be very good. Phil Peronik's also an interesting option. Didn't really play at all after getting traded to Vancouver last year just because of injuries, but pretty much was the Horvat trade is who they got for it because they traded that pick to Detroit for Phil Peronik as well. So definitely made some moves last year at the deadline to kind of shore up what this team was going to look like this season. And we'll see if that actually ends up working. Pavel Zacha, also a center you can take later on, who's going to be that first-line center this year. Going super late, obviously, 13th round. Like, that's crazy. So you can really, really, really wait on taking centers at this point. It's something that I'm kind of realizing. Obviously, knew that, but realizing a little bit more now as we kind of go through some of these mock drafts before our real drafts. Yeah, I definitely need another defenseman. Torrey Krug as well is an interesting option. I'm going to go with Gudas. You need a guy who's going to get you a lot of hits, and I'm going to take him. That, and then I'm going to go with Cam Talbot. Or even, Husso's a good option. It's just, do you think Detroit's going to be able to compete in that Eastern Conference? I actually have the impression, or I think it's a decent bet to make at this point. Tampa to miss the playoffs with Vasilevsky out for 2 months. Stamkos in his contract turmoil. That team's super top heavy still. I still think last year we saw a little bit of chink in the armor because of some of the defensemen they lost. Like Ryan McDonough was a key part of those Stanley Cup winning teams, and he's gone. Well, there goes Cam Talbot. God damn it. Okay. I'm going to go with Husso then as my third goalie, because Husso proved to be very, very good when he was in St. Louis. Last year, not the greatest season, as you can look at his stats here. Only 26 wins, goals against above 3, and his save percentage is actually below 900. But I think they did a much better job of getting some better defensemen this year alongside Mort Seider, Shane Gossesbeer. Obviously, they brought over Justin Hall, who can act as like a 5th or 6th D, like not a horrible option. I just don't think he was maybe being used as the best in the best way in Toronto. We're going to go with Husso, and then our last pick will be a right winger just to fill up our lineup here. But looking pretty good. We got Austin Matthews, Crosby, Matt Boldy, Jesper Bratt, Owen Tippett, and then defenseman Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, Noah Dobson, Tony DeAngelo, and then Swayman, Skinner, and Ville Husso. Goalies, not the greatest, I will say. And then Radko Gudas to kind of help us in the Bangers leagues. Joel Eriksson Ek as well as someone who can help us there. And then Kuzmenko, another goal scorer that you can kind of rely on here. So looking at right wingers here, Troy Terry's a good option. Duchesne's an interesting option too, because we saw last year Jamie Benn and Seguin kind of have resurgence years in a little way. And maybe that can happen with Duchesne in the same kind of position. I might go Riley Smith just to take a flyer on someone that, you might not end up working out. Some guys who were further down this list that could be options. Kuznetsov, I'd definitely stay away from this year. Deneau is probably going to be third line center now that PLD's over in LA too. Zucker on Arizona might be playing with Logan Cooley. I'm curious to see how those lines kind of shake up. Logan Cooley would also be a good option. He's definitely got to be here. Yeah, he's still there. Yeah, JT Comfer now on Detroit as well. Not on Colorado anymore. Almost 50-point season last year, so just under 50 points. Pretty solid there. Schmaltz also a good option, or considering that first line of him, Barrett Hayton, and Clayton Keller. Schmaltz, only had 58 points last year, so pretty solid actually, considering I don't think he played a full season either. But definitely starting to get a lot more thin than I'd think. I'm going to go draft Jonathan Drouin there as my last pick. Jonathan Drouin, one of my biggest sleepers this year. He's going to be playing alongside Nathan MacKinnon, so might as well just add him to your team. And yeah, your team is full. So we finished this mock draft. First one going out on the channel this year. And just an overview of the team at this point. Let's see, get a bigger view for you guys. So Austin Matthews, center, was my first pick. Crosby, second pick, then Boldy. Jesper Bratt, Owen Tippett, Drouin as well as one of my wingers. Kuzmenko is one of my wingers too. And then my defense, Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, Noah Dobson, Tony DeAngelo, and Radko Gudas, to help on those Bangers leagues. And then 3 goalies. I think 3 goalies is definitely a good system. Getting 4, don't really see the point in that. So you have Jeremy Swayman, Stuart Skinner, and Ville Husso. Swayman obviously was kind of an auto pick and a little silly, but Philip Gustafsson would have been my other option there, or the guy I was originally going to draft. I think he's going to take over the net this year for Minnesota, so definitely a good option there, but definitely not upset with this team. I like this team, definitely like my forwards, and really like my defensemen as well. So as I mentioned, first mock draft of many going out this week. I'll be doing a little bit more in-depth of kind of strategies to do from round 1 to round 6 to 12, just to help you out to know where you need to go or what positions you need to be locking in at certain points of the year. So let me know what you think of this team so far. Excited to hear what your thoughts are. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.